The broken planet. Ash and silence. That was all that remained of Earth. Commander Rourke Vane stood at the edge of what was once the city of Santiago. Now, it was a cratered skeleton, blackened stone, shattered glass, and melted metal. The air was thin and tainted with chemical ash, clinging to every breath like the ghosts of those who once lived here. He pulled his rebreather tighter and stepped forward, boots crunching over ruins that had once been bustling streets. He could still remember the laughter. Street vendors shouting, children chasing after dogs, music blaring from hovercars. Now, not even the wind dared to sing. The Zalvor Dominion called this mercy, a strategic cleansing to remove infestation. That infestation, of course, was humanity. Primitive, emotional, weak, unworthy of a place among the stars. They came with war fleets and fire, and in a single solar week, Earth fell. Cities turned to smoldering graves. Oceans boiled. Satellites collapsed. The Terran Defense Forces fought back, of course, but our weapons were too few. Too late. And Rourke, he survived. That's all he did. Survived the battle for orbit, the fall from his carrier, and the months of eating insect protein and radioactive root paste. Not for glory, not for revenge, but because he couldn't let the memory of his daughter vanish. He reached into a small pouch on his chest and pulled out a tiny, clear vial. Inside, a drop of blood suspended in stasis gel. Her blood, Mila Vane, 8 years old, gone when the orbital strike hit Houston. His thumb trembled as he traced the label on the vial. Project, Legacy Core, Earth's desperate plan to preserve its genetic future. Now, just another lost hope. But for Rourke, it was all he had. He tucked it back and moved through the ruins with purpose. For weeks, he'd followed a whisper past between dying soldiers and rebel hackers. Beneath the Andes Mountains, deep in a black site vault, something had survived the fall. Not a weapon, not a ship, a beast, the final failsafe. Something even the Dominion feared. Project Hellspawn. He descended into a forgotten facility embedded into the bedrock. Rusted doors creaked open under his palm. The halls were lined with shattered glass, flickering screens, and dried blood stains. Memories of a last stand. A soft hum pulsed in the distance. Still powered. Deeper in, Rourke found it. A sealed cryo chamber, reinforced with titanium carbon mesh. The word Bioforge Unit 07 ASHRA blinked in red. Inside, suspended in green mist, was a creature that defied classification. A tiger, or something that had once resembled one. Its fur shimmered with an unnatural emerald hue, glowing like radioactive moss. Its fangs were too long, its claws curved like blades, and its body, it pulsed with living heat, armored with layers of biosteel along its spine. And its eyes, even through the glass, were open. Watching him, Rourke felt it immediately. Not fear, not even awe. Recognition. His hand moved to the neural link port beside the chamber. The interface was human only. The scientists had built this beast from Earth's pain and fury, fused with recovered alien DNA and something darker. Something forbidden. He didn't care. The moment he touched the port, the beast reacted. The chamber hissed. Lights blazed red. A voice spoke, garbled but human. Hellspawn engaged. Synaptic match confirmed. Rider authorized. With a roar that shook the chamber, the glass exploded. Rourke threw himself to the ground as heat flooded the room. The beast emerged slowly, smoke curling off its flanks, its eyes never leaving him. Rourke rose to his feet. The beast growled low, testing the air. Then, unbelievably, it bowed its head. He approached, heart pounding. Was this madness? Was this grief finally breaking him? He laid a hand on the beast's head. It was hot to the touch, like living fire. Images flooded his mind. Screams, lab coats, needles. The beast's own memories of torment, of solitude, of being born not to live, but to destroy. It was not just a weapon. It was vengeance given form. Your name, Rourke whispered, voice cracking, is Ashra. The beast snarled, not in anger, but as if it understood. A moment passed between them, one forged in mutual pain. The last soldier of Earth and the last weapon of its wrath. Above them, the Dominion still ruled. The stars belonged to tyrants. But now something stirred beneath the ashes. A ghost with a sword, and a tiger from hell. The beast that remembered. The war vault's ceiling groaned under the pressure of time and decay as Commander Rourke Vane led Ashra through the dim corridors, their shadows stretching long across the metal floor. Emergency lights flickered with a dying pulse, casting the beast's green fur in a ghostly glow. Every step Ashra took was silent and deliberate, the weight of her power humming like electricity in the air. Rourke could feel the neural bond strengthening. It wasn't just data, it was emotion, a low burn of instinctual rage and a depthless, ancient sadness. The beast was alive in ways beyond biology. It was memory carved into flesh. She was alone too, Rourke muttered, not sure if he was speaking to himself or Ashra. They moved toward the central control chamber. The Dominion had planted a monitoring outpost above the vault, likely using it as a forward supply depot. If they were going to escape Earth, they'd need a ship, and silence wasn't an option anymore. Ashra stiffened suddenly. Rourke felt it before he heard it. Footsteps. Voices. Zalvor troops. They'd found a breach. He crouched beside the beast. How many? A blur of scent and sound passed through the link. 8 soldiers. 2 with pulse rifles, 6 with shock halberds. Confident. Laughing. Rourke's hands moved without thinking. He adjusted the pulse cannon strapped to his back and drew his worn combat knife. We move fast, quiet. You flank. You good with that? Ashra let out a low growl, her red eyes flashing. He didn't need confirmation. She was born for this. The corridor exploded into violence. Ashra leapt from the shadows like a streak of green lightning, slamming into the first 2 Zalvor. Her claws shredded armor like paper, her roar echoing like 100 thundercracks through the hall. Rourke moved behind her, precise and lethal. A blade to the neck, a cannon blast to the gut, a flash of plasma and blood. The Zalvor screamed and fell in seconds. One tried to run. Ashra caught him midair, crushing his chest with a single swipe. And then it was over. Rourke stood still, breath ragged. Ashra paced around the fallen like a storm not yet past. Her fur shimmered with faint heat. Then something changed. Rourke staggered as a wave of images slammed into him through the neural bond. Memories that weren't his. He saw a lab, sterile and cold. Scientists in Terran uniforms, their faces gaunt with fear and determination. He saw Ashra, young, still growing, bound in chains of light, screaming not in fury but pain. And then, the worst, he saw her kill them. Not by choice. They forced her into it, test after test, until rage was her only language. Stop, Rourke gasped, falling to one knee. Ashra, stop. The images faded. She stepped closer, nuzzling his shoulder with a low whine. The fury was gone, replaced by something soft. Regret? He put his hand on her muzzle. I know. They made you into this just like they made us into nothing. And suddenly, he didn't feel like her master or commander. He felt like a mirror. Another survivor of a species punished for daring to resist extinction. They moved together, unspoken now, through the vault and up to the surface. It was night, but the sky glowed faintly from orbit. Dominion craft circling Earth like vultures around corpse. But they had a ship now. In a hidden hangar built into the cliffside, covered in debris and camouflage netting, sat a Terran Corvette-class stealth craft, likely hidden in the vault's final hours and forgotten. Rourke activated the control panel. It coughed to life. Systems held. As he prepped the engines, Ashra paced the bay, watching him with eyes no longer wild. She was calm, waiting. Coordinates, the ship's AI asked, its voice soft and mechanical. Rourke hesitated. The Dominion had thousands of strongholds, billions of soldiers, but none knew what was coming for them. All of them, he said finally. We start with the one that bombed Houston. As the ship roared to life, Ashra leapt into the cargo hold and curled beside the weapons rack, a silent green inferno. They left Earth in fire and speed. Behind them, the planet burned. Ahead of them, the stars waited, and the whispered name of Hellrider was about to be born. The Warpath, the Zalvor outpost on Crixus, for was built like a fortress, all obsidian walls, spiked towers, and security drones patrolling every sector. It hovered above the jungle like a dark god, blotting out the twin suns. No one had ever breached it. No one had dared. Until now. The guards heard the roar first, low, unearthly, rising from the canopy below. Then the trees exploded as a blur of green muscle and fury tore through them, launching straight into the landing bay. Zalvor's soldiers scrambled. Order screamed. Blasters lit the night. But nothing could stop it. Ashra, the emerald beast of vengeance, tore through the squadron like flame through dry leaves. Her claws shredded armor. Her fangs crushed helmets. Her body moved like a living meteor, pure purpose and wrath. Her eyes blazed red with the fire of something ancient and unfinished. And riding on her back was Commander Rourke Vane, a man once thought broken by the fall of his world, now risen like a star-born reaper. He fired from his saddle with terrifying precision. His plasma rounds punched through alien skulls. His blade, forged from the ruins of Terran steel, flashed in the chaos. He was calm, focused. The storm in his blood now had direction. Behind them came the humans, slaves once bound in chains, now armed and armored with stolen Zalvor tech. Every outpost Rourke raided, every base Ashra crushed, they freed more. A resistance was forming, and it marched beneath a new banner. A beast with glowing eyes, and the man who rode her. 2 hours later, the outpost burned. Rourke stood atop the smoking command tower, his armor scorched, eyes scanning the horizon. Around him, humans wept in disbelief, clutching each other. Free, for the first time in years. A child tugged at his leg, no older than Mila would have been. She had lavender skin and wide amber eyes. Not human, but not Zalvor either. I saw you in my dreams, she whispered. The green tiger. You're real. Rourke knelt beside her. What's your name? Kivin. He looked into her eyes and saw no fear. Just hope. He gave a small smile. Then stay close, Kivin. This fight's not over. The resistance grew with every planet they touched. Word of the Hellrider, the human astride a tiger from hell, spread like wildfire through the fringe systems. Aliens who once spat on humans began to reconsider. Slaves rose up. Outposts fell. Dominion governors went silent. The Council of Nine convened in panic. This cannot be allowed, hissed Chancellor Kratenor, his spined hands trembling. It's one human. Then why have 50 battalions failed to kill him? Snapped another. Why does the beast not obey logic? Because it wasn't just one human. It was Earth's fury, packaged in muscle, steel, and scars. It had a name now, Ashra, carved into Dominion communications as a code of dread. In a captured cargo ship, Rourke sat by a firelight projection in the galley. Ashra slept nearby, her breathing slow and deep. Around them, new recruits patched their wounds and shared rations. The ship smelled of fuel, sweat, and quiet purpose. Kivin sat beside him, polishing a knife someone had given her. Why do you keep fighting? She asked. Rourke didn't answer right away. He reached into his chest pouch and held up the stasis vial. Mila's blood, still intact. I lost everything, he said quietly. Family, home, Earth, all of it gone. But as long as I keep fighting, I'm not letting them win. I'm not letting them erase what we were. Kivin stared at the vial. Will she come back? He smiled, thin and tired. Maybe not in the way I want. But if I build something better out here, something where kids like you can sleep without chains, then maybe that's enough. She nodded slowly, then leaned against his shoulder. He didn't push her away. Ashra stirred, lifting her head to look at them both. A low rumble in her chest. Not a warning. A comfort. Later that night, Rourke stood alone on the observation deck. Stars glittered before him. The old galaxy, vast, cold, cruel. But something inside him had shifted. He wasn't just fighting out of rage anymore. He was fighting for something larger. The resistance, the children, the memory of what humanity had been and could still become. He turned as Ashra padded silently up beside him. She looked up at the stars, then back at him. Yeah, he whispered. We're not done yet. They would ride again, into the heart of the enemy. Not just for vengeance, but for legacy. Then he rode, The sky above Zalvor Prime boiled with war. Columns of smoke twisted through the clouds like the fingers of dying gods. Orbital defense cannons roared to life, lighting up the void with streams of plasma, tracing desperate lines toward the rebellion's incoming fleet. But in the center of the storm, riding the lead ship, came the one figure the Dominion could not kill, could not predict, could not forget. Commander Rourke Vane stood on the platform of the rebel dreadnought, clad in scorched Terran armor, cape torn, face lined with age and fire. At his side, armored and growling, was Ashra, no longer just a beast, but a myth carved into reality. Her green fur shimmered in the crimson light of war, eyes burning like molten suns. The final strike had begun. The plan was madness, a direct assault on the Citadel, the heart of the Zalvor Empire, where the Council of Nine ruled from their throne of blood and steel. But Rourke had never cared for odds. Not when Earth burned, not when his daughter died, and not now. Explosions rippled through the capital city as the rebellion surged forward. Former slaves, exiled soldiers, and liberated species rose together, rallying under one banner, the man on the tiger from hell. Rourke charged down the landing ramp atop Ashra, sword raised, teeth bared. They met the Dominion's elite forces head-on. The Paladins of Purity, 9-foot monstrosities with spined armor and thought cannons, fell beneath Ashra's claws like straw men. Her roar shattered glass towers. Rourke moved with brutal grace, plasma blade carving arcs of light through enemy ranks. Kivin fought nearby, smaller but fast, precise. The girl who once looked up at him in awe now fought as his equal, blade flashing, leading a squad of freed children who had once known only chains. Every meter they advanced was paid in blood, but they pressed forward past barricades, through kill zones, across firelit streets and shattered temples, until at last the great citadel loomed above them. Inside, silence reigned. The halls were lined with obsidian columns and statues of long-dead conquerors. The air smelled of burning copper and fear. Rourke stepped through the grand doors into the throne chamber. Alone, 9 thrones, 8 empty, 1 occupied. Chancellor Creightonor rose to his feet, towering, ancient, cloaked in white armor laced with gold. His voice was smooth and contemptuous. So, the last ape returns to die. Rourke didn't speak. Ashra growled behind him. Creightonor descended the stairs, a blade of dark crystal in one hand. You should have stayed in the ashes of your broken planet. You were nothing. You're still nothing. All your rage, all your fire, it ends here. Rourke looked him in the eye. You called us weak. He stepped forward. Then I rode a tiger from hell through your gods. They clashed. The throne room erupted in fury and steel. Creightonor fought like a machine, precise, cruel, devastating. His blade cracked Rourke's armor, cut deep into his side. Rourke bled, breath ragged, but he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. Ashra lunged, intercepting Creightonor's death blow with her body. The Chancellor staggered, stunned. Her claws raked across his chest, shattering his armor. Rourke moved in. With a roar of his own, he drove his sword deep into Creightonor's heart. The alien gasped, eyes wide with disbelief, before crumbling to the floor. Ashra collapsed beside Rourke, her breath shallow. Blood, green and steaming, pooled beneath her. No, Rourke whispered, falling to his knees beside her. No, not yet. You hear me? She looked up at him, eyes softer now. She nudged the pouch on his chest, the vial of Mila's blood. Her claws twitched once, then she was still. The citadel burned behind them as Kivin found him. Half collapsed, covered in blood, arms wrapped around the fallen beast. She saved me, Rourke said, voice hollow. More than I ever saved her. Kivin pulled him up. Come on. They're waiting. Outside, the rebellion stood victorious. Ashra's body was carried out with reverence, draped in a black and green banner. Thousands bowed their heads. She was no longer a monster. She was a martyr, a symbol. Epilogue, years later. A statue stood in the heart of New Terra, carved from the obsidian of the old citadel. It depicted a man atop a tiger, sword raised, eyes toward the stars. Kivin, now a grown woman, a general, led her own child to the base of the statue. "That's him," she said softly. "The one who showed us we weren't weak." Her daughter stared up, wide-eyed. Did he really ride a tiger in a battle? Kivin smiled. He was the battle. Beneath the statue, engraved in steel. They said humans were weak. Then he rode.